What do you think it is about giving something a couple decades and letting it breathe, and then it's as all of a sudden this classic or this rare gem?
Yeah,
What is that in all of
that
us?
seems to happen. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just that certain films are ahead of their time, or that, you know, the public isn't ready to embrace it at the time it's made, but then suddenly the general audience catches up, with what that thing is. And, you see it all the time, though. You see it constantly. Films that were absolute disasters are now looked upon as classics. Even Heaven's Gate has been, reevaluated. Or one of my favorite films, Sorcerer, which is William Friedkin's remake of Wages of Fear, which is this, enormous dark adventure film that he made in 1977, which it took two studios to finance, and it just died at the box office, is now in the last couple of years being regarded as a classic to be reconsidered. So I think the thing has always been, though, that the difference between a movie like Ed Wood's films versus even Heaven's Gate, or certainly Sorcerer, or anything you can think of that's been rediscovered, is that the movies tend to be good, and it's just they're looked upon as being rediscovered because at the time they didn't make money. But I think that's the thing that most of us should really bear in mind always, is that how much something earns should not be equated with its aesthetic value. I mean, value is such a weird term, but it's like people for years and years and years, ever since Entertainment Tonight came on television, box office was made public, have equated good with how much money it's made. But I've always said that by that standard, 2.5 Men or whatever, sitcom of the week that's got 80 jillion viewers is the greatest piece of art ever made. So, and all you have to do is look at anything, like that's why I loved, like, if you ever see the beginning of Robert Altman's movie, Vincent and Theo, is a great sort of way of encapsulating what that means, because the way Vincent and Theo opens, which is about Vincent van Gogh and his relationship with his brother, is it starts with a real, like, Christie's or Sotheby's auction of sunflowers, whenever that was, in the 70s or whatever. And it just starts with the auction video. And they're saying, do I hear $20 million? Do I hear $25 million? Yes, I have $25 million. Do I have $30 million? Yes, do I have, and it goes, and as this millions are being offered for sunflowers, there's this long dissolve to Van Gogh, played by Tim Roth, like freezing to death in his shack in the winter, and he's got no teeth, and he's suffering from lead poisoning, and he's completely unappreciated. Like, and that's the whole thing with Van Gogh. And yes, all of us would like to say, yes, I am Van Gogh, and nobody appreciates me. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there was a time, whether it's timing or, whether Van Gogh's work, I'm sure there are millions of scholars that have already said why Van Gogh was not as successful, but it's something about, I think the general public wants something a certain way. Look at punk rock. I mean, this is crazy. Like my wife, was a punk rocker in the 80s, and she always talks about how, people spit on her for looking that way. People spit on her, that things like hair dye, like you couldn't just go get Manic Panic down at the store. It's like you wanted your hair green or blue, like you had to, paint your hair. And like, that was a political statement that people were not ready for at all. The cops would hassle you. People were just like, you were disgusting. And now, 7-year-old girls go to school and dressed in that same thing.
Black lipstick.
Yeah, and now that's all, something as simple as like, oh, she's got green hair, is just like, that is nothing. That doesn't mean, there's not offensive at all. It doesn't, if anything, it's just banal. Whereas, 20 years earlier, 30 years earlier, you would have been, and now and I'm sure the same thing, like anything political is that way. Gay marriage, 20 years from now, people are going to say, how the hell was that not, legal? So I think the public, whatever you want to call it, which certainly represents the audiences that judge whether a movie is successful, tend to be slow to getting it. And I don't know what that is. I don't know. There's certainly, if you're a radical thinker or an alternative thinker, then you're going to be more inclined to appreciate something left of center when it comes out. But that's not how things are judged. Things are judged by how the most number of people either liked it or they didn't like it. And the most number of people aren't necessarily the best judge of whether something is good. It's just what they're ready for, you know.